you find what you love to do, and then you just kind of relentlessly pursue it. And that's what I've had a lot of success with, is like, if I'm not running, like, because I have to travel for 18 hours in a plane or something, I'm doing push-ups in the galley and like stretches and like step up. I'll wear my backpack full of my stuff and just walk up and down the steps at the airport for a half an hour and get a good sweat on. It's like, there's always ways to do things. It's like, I think so many people find excuses or find reasons why they can't do things, but if you look for it, there's ways to get things done no matter what.
That was Mike Wardian, and this is the Yogi Triathlete podcast. Today we are coming to you from the base of the Wasatch Mountains in Provo, Utah. And I'm recording this on the morning that we'll be launching the episode, which ideally, of course, as an ex-perfectionist, I like to have everything done prior to launch day. And even like leading up to recording this morning, I was having trouble with the mics and all of the stuff that doesn't usually happen. But this week has been a constant series of unexpecteds. And I've been constantly reminded that I'm the architect of my life, right? That it is possible that the world will not end if this podcast goes up in the afternoon and not the morning. And we continually, BJ and I continually find ourselves surrendering into the moment this week. And the hindsight that we both have right now is that these last few days, because we've surrendered, because we've let go, because we've just been in the moment with whatever has come up, it's allowed a creation of something that's been far greater than we've ever planned. But this creation never would have happened without our willingness to let go of our schedule and remind ourselves that we are the biggest limiters in this epic life. So when we can step outside while still holding on to that grand vision, but cut the tethers that bind us, we're able to lift off and see the world from a view up above, which we're doing right now. Put it this way. Most of us are living on the basement floor, and we're looking out of those small half windows. They're kind of dirty. But then a few of us notice that there's a set of stairs in the corner, and we don't know where they lead, and that's scary because it's the unknown. But for some reason, we take them anyway. And now we're on the ground floor, and the windows there are larger. And then we see another set of stairs, and that leads us up to the second floor. And now we're really starting to get a view to behold, but we're compelled to go higher and climb and rest when we need a breath. And eventually, the view from the top floor is all-encompassing. There are no limits there, and we can see all the roads and the possible routes. And this is how we start on the path to living our purpose, but it all starts with the first step. And that's exactly what our guest today has done. He has not only taken the first step, he has climbed mountains. He has run mountains, one after the other. Starting small, he finished his first race, and like many of us, was left wanting more. So he went longer and realized that running just may be his thing, the very thing that he never would have imagined would become the major piece of his life that it is today. Mike is not only a talented runner, excelling at the marathon and ultra distances, he's also a multi-time world record holder, father, and husband who has held the same full-time job for 2 decades. He describes how he balances his training and family life and the importance of being relentless and pursuing what you love. Racing almost every weekend in the year, Mike is constantly on the run, literally. We caught up with him at his home in Arlington, Virginia last month, just as he was returning from the Ultra Trail to Mont Blanc, where he finished 5th American. He was so gracious with his time because I can't even imagine how precious every second is. And we're always so grateful when someone opens up space to be on the show. If you haven't noticed, we're not interviewing a bunch of duds. I mean, our guests are busy. And sometimes our requests are the same day, which really allows for an organic and unscripted experience. It's really, really cool how it's been coming together. But Mike is the perfect example of somebody who has lifted the limits on life, and he plans to just keep on going. We had a ton of fun recording on his front porch. So if you hear stuff in the background, well, it's life. It's nature. Like you can hear the birds singing. I love it. Just really brings me back to that moment. And it's nothing that I could have ever removed from the recording because it's all a part of the experience. But before we jump into that experience, I want to remind you guys that you only have a few more days to get yourself in the running to win our October giveaway with LifeStraw. We're giving away one of their LifeStraw Go bottles, and I just have to share a story that happened at the beginning of the week. In the darkness of the night, in the middle of nowhere, Utah. I mean, nowhere, Utah. Did I say nowhere, Utah? Because we were in the middle of nowhere. There was a gas station. And we brought our empty LifeStraw bottles into the bathroom, and we put them to their biggest test yet. Lined with scum and black stains, the sinks could only be a reflection of what was coming out of the faucet. With unwavering faith, we filled the bottles. And in an act of solidarity, BJ and I simultaneously took a sip. And the water tasted absolutely delicious. The only reason it was hard to drink was because that vision of the sink is now burned into my memory. But also my belief in LifeStraw is equally as etched into my being. So get to iTunes, leave a review, and if you win, you will never have to worry about drinking clean water ever again. Now, we hope you enjoy our chat with Michael Wardian today. He is an ultra runner, a world record holder, and sometimes superhero.
If you go all the way up, go past Vancouver, check out Squamish, British Columbia. It's probably one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. And if you do, let me know, because my buddy Gary Robbins is up in that area. But it's lush. And do you ride mountain bikes or?
We used to. I think we lost that coordination with triathlon. That I did right after I did my first Ironman. I was like, yeah, let's go mountain biking. Like, I can do anything, and crashed so hard.
Clip in, bang.
It's like, whoa, this is way different than just like plugging in and just going straight.
Yes.
Totally different.
Yeah.
So, sadly for our mountain bikes, they became our commuter bikes in
Newport.
Okay. And mine ended up with a basket on the front, and it got really sad, and we ended up giving them away before we left.
Okay.
They didn't make the trip.
We have one bike, just one bike
but
each.
So you guys have your tri-bikes?
Yeah.
So that's what you're going to train on? Is like your
That's
race
it.
bike?
Yeah, my race wheels. I got one pair of wheels.
That's it.
one trainer.
One pair of running sneakers.
Yeah.
Nice, man.
Yeah, we're keeping it simple.
Yeah.
All right, so we're rolling now, and we'll just kind of like... Let's jump in with what you just did out in France. So I know we were just kind of talking about it, but I want to share that as well.
Okay.
And that's Rosie.
That's Rosie, our Vishla. So I was just over in Chamonix, France for the Ultra Trail de Mont Blanc. It's 105-ish miles with over 33,000 feet of elevation gain, and it's pretty incredible. You get to run around the biggest mountain in Europe, so that's Mont Blanc, and you start in the town of Chamonix, and then you run into Italy. So you start in France, you run into Italy, and then Switzerland, and then back into France, and you circumnavigate it, and it's non-stop running. So it took me 28 hours and 10 minutes of running, and I ended up finishing 5th American, I think, and 46th overall out of around 2,500 participants.
And all self-supported, all your nutrition, or did they have...
so they have checkpoints, kind of like aid stations like you'd see in an Ironman. Yep. But yeah, you're responsible. You have to carry foul weather gear, so you have to carry waterproof jacket, waterproof pants, bandages, cups, any type of food. You have to have a minimum of 1 liter of water on you. So it's kind of intense just because you're in the mountains and you're kind of exposed. If anything goes wrong, you're kind of responsible for yourself. You have to carry a cell phone with the number of the organization in it that works in all 3 countries. And actually, my friend actually fell off the mountain in a smaller race before the big race, and so he actually ended up using his emergency phone. So it's
good to have.
Yeah, it's really imperative that you keep track of yourself and where you are.
So you got you ended up placing 4th place in that race, and
46th place.
Oh, 46.
Yeah.
I'm an optimist.
No, yeah, exactly.
And was it because sometimes you do these races and it's like you fight for your life to hit to hit that finish line, right? Was
Yeah.
it one of those, or was it more of a smoother ride? Because they're all different.
No, yeah, totally. It was, for me, it was, I had a rougher patch. It starts on a Friday evening at 6 o'clock at night. And so then you run throughout the night. And I had a really low point in the middle of the night, like, which is pretty normal. And most people kind of have lower energy, at least for me, like once it gets near your regular bedtime. But then I started feeling stronger as the race went on, and I actually crossed the finish line and was able to pick up 4 people in the last kilometer. So it was, for me, it was a great finish, and I was excited about being able to close the race on such a high note, and to really, be able to push all the way to the end, and to know that I had that kind of strength left and stamina to keep going. So it makes me want to look at even longer races. There's some longer, I did earlier this year, I did a race around Menorca that was 115 miles, and I finished second actually overall in that. And then I did 300-mile races in 29 days this summer, and each race I got stronger, and I ended up winning the last one. It was a 100-mile race all around New York City called the Great New York Running Expeditions, or Exposition. Yeah, Exposition. So yeah, and then I finished fourth overall and first solo division in the San Diego 100 miler in between there. But right now I'm getting ready to do the balance of the Abbott World Marathon Majors. So I've done Tokyo, Boston, and London, and then I'm flying to Berlin at the end of this month to do Berlin, and then Chicago, and then New York City marathons.
So in those low moments,
yeah.
So you just said you were pretty low, when you wanted to get to go to sleep, or your fuel's low. How are you picking yourself up?
Yeah,
what is happening?
I think there's a lot of self-doubt that creeps in, for sure. I'm not good at this, I'm terrible, why do I sign up for these things? But I love that part of it. I mean, I think that's what we're all looking for, is to see, where those limits are and then try to expand them. And so having the experience to know that what I ended up noticing was that anytime I was over 1,500 meters, so 8,000 feet or so, that's not right, maybe 5,000 or 6,000 feet, I would start to get forgetful to eat and drink. And usually it comes down to you're not taking in enough calories and you're not drinking enough. And so if you can, I had a Spanish guy come up to me at Marathon des Sables once, and he saw me, and I had sunstroke, and I was puking, and he just goes, Miguel, bebe, comida, and I always think of that, if things are going really bad, first drink, then eat, and then if you don't feel better, then you got to start trying to figure out what's going on. So what I did is I just ate and drank, and I started to feel a little better. And then I also noticed as the altitude came down, because in this race you go really high and then you climb for a couple hours, and then you descend all the way back down to the valley. So it's really these steep up and down, you'll descend 5 kilometers at a time. And as I was coming down, I would feel better. And so I just knew if we were going up, that I was going to feel bad, and that I'd feel better later. And I think just having that experience from doing so many races kind of gets you through those low patches. And then I gave myself treats throughout the course of the race, whereas I knew at the halfway point I was saving my iPod so that I would have music to help carry me through the rest of the race. And I allowed myself, instead of 1 minute in the aid station, I said I'll just take as long as I need. So I knew that I was going to have that reprieve to kind of get my stores back and be able to keep going.
From what I've read, you don't really use music that much.
Yeah.
In your training.
No, never. Yeah.
People, and I think we come across people that say we put it on a plan, because we work with some athletes, and they just don't. They can't do it. They can't put it down. They need the music. They're like, what am I going to be doing out there?
Right.
But it's sort of a place to get into yourself and sort of sort things out and build that mental strength.
Right. Yeah. And that being said, I do use it when I commute. So when I commute on I bike or run to work, so I'll use it then. But if I'm doing a hard workout or something, I don't tend to use it. And it is nice. It's a nice treat, and it's a way that you can get a bunch of energy. You know, if you hear your favorite song come on, or like there's nothing better, especially when you pair that with like just insane views. Like, and that was the other thing, is like, if I don't keep going, I know I'm not going to get to see like what's around the other side of the mountain, and just knowing that you're going to have these just incredible vistas and like sheer mountains. And like at one point, my friend actually caught a really cool picture of it. Like, I'm coming around out of a trail, and like I'm cresting the trail, and I just see out of the corner of my eye something, and I don't want to look over because I'm not quite sure. Like, it's so technical, I have to like kind of keep where I'm going, but then it opens up a little bit and I sneak a peek, and it's just Mont Blanc, like sheer like shark fin, like granite walls, and we're above the clouds, and it's just breathtakingly beautiful. And like, I was one of those moments where you're just like, I can't believe I get to do this.
And we just are looking at that photo now. It's pretty amazing. Like, it's just, it doesn't look real.
No, it looks like somebody like crafted it up in like Pixar's like animation studio, and Disney like broadcast it with the sound of music going like in the hills behind me. So those are the type of things that get me motivated. And then also knowing, like, you know, I had my family, my wife Jennifer, and our boys Pierce and Grant were both over taking part in it, and you know, you don't want to let those people down. And also, you know, I'm lucky that I have a lot of people following me, so it's always cool to like have people cheering for you at the aid stations, and also like being a part of the race. Like, so many people and athletes are, you know, excited to see how you're doing, and I'm excited to see how everyone else is doing. So you kind of have this really nice sense of community in the trail running scene and also the ultra running scene. So that is always a big motivator for me, is also making sure everyone's doing okay, and hopefully inspiring people to kind of do more than they think they can.
I don't think people realize how much that helps when you're out there on the course and you can't see anyone in front of you or behind you, and you're having a low moment, to think about your family at the finish line, to think about that they're there for you, and to think about that they've been near you every step of the way to get there. And then all the fans and all the volunteers and everyone following you on social media. Like, I don't think people realize the impact that it has for an athlete when you're out there. I mean, would you say that you just pull from all of that? Like, even the people that you don't even really know, you just know that there's people out there. Like, the power of that connection is so, so strong. Yeah,
and I think that's one of the coolest things about it, right? Is that we get to share our journey with these people, and they become part of your community, right? And then you become part of their community, and we kind of inspire each other, and it's like this awesome, like, symbiotic relationship where you kind of draw from them and feed them energy, and then they take it back in, and it allows both of you and everybody to do a little more than would be possible if you were just by yourself. I mean, it's just incredible. And like, knowing that those people are out there, really, for me, I find it really helpful, and I hope that what I'm doing is inspiring to people also.
We talk so much about community and creating community, and a big part of this podcast is being able to share story. So people understand, you know, the more and more story that we're able to share through this medium is that we're more similar than we are different, and that we are feeding off of each other, right? And BJ and I have been thinking a lot about this idea of this trickle effect, that, you know, the interactions that we're having, we're doing group events and we're volunteering and we're doing the podcast and all of that, but the one-on-one connections that we're having with like the head of housekeeping at the hotel that we stayed in New York City, where I was talking to him in the hallway and he was just like, I'm so happy now, you know, I'm so happy now. And I had no idea why he was so happy. He was just asking us what we were doing, and I was telling him the story about how we're kind of hoping to raise the vibe through connecting people. And, you know, what's the trickle effect from that? Like, was he going to go home and then tell his wife, and then maybe his wife thought, well, you know, maybe I'm going to do this now to simplify my life. Like, you just don't know the trickle effect. So people just even supporting you through social media that you've never met, maybe never will meet, like the trickle effect of just that clicking to follow you, like you just never know. But if you're drawn to something, go. Yeah. Because there's a reason you're supposed to be there, and it goes both ways, you know, that you're pulling from them. And it's this detachment of just living that line of life that feels in alignment with what you're supposed to do here on earth, and know that like you don't have to worry about who you're affecting or who you're inspiring, or or the other. Like sometimes people will go in the other direction because they just kind of can't handle what you're doing, maybe don't believe in themselves enough to do it. But you just got to keep going, right? Like you just have to keep going on that line of what you feel is the next logical step in your life.
Totally.
And for you, clearly it's you race a lot.
Yes, I do. I race probably 40 to 50 times a year, all different distances, from like 1 mile races up to like 135, 150 miles. Hopefully at some point 200-mile races.
Yeah.
I mean it's one of those things where I want to keep exploring what's possible for me, like in different conditions, different circumstance. Like next year I'm going to try to do 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days, which seems like it should be pretty easy, but then you multiply 7 times 26.2 and that's like probably one of the biggest weeks I've ever had in my life. So like that's 183 miles, and that's with travel and
the logistics of it all.
Yeah,
just the whole planning.
Like the logistics are one of the factors, but also just like staying healthy. Like, anything can happen. Like we were just talking before we got on air, like you can be super prepared, you can ride the course, you can run the course, and you eat a bad apple or you have a bad plate of pasta and all of a sudden your race is in jeopardy. And I've had to battle through that in various places. I had that in Ethiopia. I had that in Peru before. I had that before the race we were talking about earlier at Ultra Trail de Mont Blanc Thursday night, throwing up before the race on Friday. And it's one of those things where life happens, and you have to be able to deal with that and overcome whatever obstacles there are, or there's other things that you can do. But one of those factors is trying to see what's possible on the day.
Yeah.
We were talking about the Iron Cowboy too, which makes his thing so much more amazing too, because you think about 50 triathlons in 50 days in 50 states.
Yeah.
How did he stay healthy for that? And he talks about just continually training and loading his body. And it sounds similar to like what you do, because you don't really take rest days. You may, but you run almost every day, and you do active recovery. So I'm assuming that's a big part of why you're able to just keep moving, keep pushing the envelope, keep coming up with these ideas to go further, because your body is craving it almost. It's like, this is working. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that's one of the things, like people say, what's your secret to recovery? And I think that it's always continuing to move forward. It almost touches on what you were saying. It's like, you find what you love to do, and then you just kind of relentlessly pursue it. And that's what I've had a lot of success with, is like, if I'm not running, like because I have to travel for 18 hours in a plane or something, I'm doing push-ups in the galley and like stretches and like step up. I'll wear my backpack full of my stuff and just walk up and down the steps at the airport for a half an hour and get a good sweat on. It's like there's always ways to do things. It's like, I think so many people find excuses or find reasons why they can't do things, but if you look for it, there's ways to get things done no matter what.
Yeah, and I think BJ is showing that to me on a whole new level, with not only bouncing from getting taken out at Lake Placid, but being like, okay, what's next? So now he's doing Louisville in October, and our routine is not having a routine these days. So it's been really challenging, and it's taken his discipline, which is a pretty disciplined guy, to a whole new level. To see him getting up and riding in foreign places, and today he got up at 5 o'clock in the morning, rode to like Georgetown and hooked up with the DC Tri Club, and
I heard that. That was awesome.
It's so cool. Like I didn't know how I was going to get in a long ride, and our friends are coming back into town, and I wanted to get it done, but I just put on the headlamp and headed up there, and it was so cool.
And
like,
you had every excuse in the not that you were, but we could have come up with a notebook full of excuses of, not to go do that.
Right.
And,
like you don't know where you're going. You don't know if anyone's going to be able to ride with you. You don't know
if I
the
can
route.
hang.
Yeah, exactly.
What if I get lost?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And what if they go longer than, but you did it. And so, and like we're at a campsite and we're doing like step ups on the picnic table and we throw up the swim cords into a tree and there was a week where we didn't have access to a pool, and so he's got to keep his training going. So I love what you said about that. It's really easy to come up with excuses, right? Like it's really easy to do that. But like we don't have to buy into those excuses at all. And so you're a guy who's like, it seems that like you're kind of, okay, this 7 marathons in 7 days, that seems good. Like, so what is it between getting the inspiration, because a lot of people get inspiration, but what's the difference between getting the inspiration and then putting it into action?
Well,
right, because the excuses are going to come in.
Or is it just natural?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that there's always that hesitation, right? Like, especially like a big project like the 7 marathons on 7 days, 7 continents. Like, the hesitation for me is like, I knew about this 3 years ago, and I've been trying to find the funding for it, and I'm still trying to find the funding for it. It's cost 38,000 euros, and I think, with the travel and everything, it's going to be more like 45,000 euro or 45,000 US. And so that's been a big hesitation, is like the monetary part of anything is always something that I consider. I decided I'm just going to go for it and try to figure it out as I go. And luckily I'm landing. What I'm doing is I'm having each person, if they want to, sponsor a continent. So for $7,000, you can sponsor a continent. So like if I can just get 7 people to say yes, I just got my first sponsor, MedStar. Thank you very much, Sean, and everyone at MedStar. But like I have quite a few sponsors regularly, and so hopefully when budgets are drawn up, like they'll think of this project. But like I think there are so many things that stop you. Like I just was having lunch with some guys that are doing a filming top trails for Hoka One One, and I was telling them like in November I'm going to do the Rock and Roll Vegas Marathon as Elvis to try to set a world record. And they were saying like, that's awesome. And a couple years ago, I ran 2 marathons on the same day, one in the morning at Rock and Roll San Antonio, and then one at Rock and Roll Vegas, and we had to fly in between. And like I tried to win both of them. I won the first one, I didn't win the second one. And so they're like, hey, would you ever do that again? And I was like, oh, that would be awesome. And they're like, what would be even cooler is to parachute down. And so like you're talking about inspiration, and I was like, well, you know what? I could parachute down as Elvis and then set a world record in November. So like now, like I think one of those things is like always being receptive to like it may not be the idea that someone intended for you, but like that's a way where like we were just chatting like runners and triathletes and people that are active talk, like kind of crazy talk, right? Like I'm sure like some dude like you were talking to, like you met the Iron Cowboy, he was like, yeah, I saw that guy Dean Karnassus ran 50 marathons on 50 states. Right. I wonder if I could do 50 triathlons. Like, I'm sure it was like, I don't know if that's exactly how the story went down, but I'm sure it was probably something like, or it was like someone like, dude, you could never do that. And he's probably like, I bet I could. Like, it's almost like when I first started getting into doing marathons, like I wanted to just do the Boston Marathon one time. That was my goal. And then I was going to never do it again. I just, whatever. It was going to be a bucket list thing. And so then I was like, well, now that I did the Boston Marathon, I figured that you actually have to qualify. So I didn't know that. So then you qualify, and then I did the Boston Marathon, and then I got kind of hooked. And then I was like, well, then I'll just do all the big marathons in the U.S. in the same year. But it was like Chicago, New York City, Marine Corps. They're only like 4 weeks apart, and everyone's like, you can never do 4 marathons in like 5 weeks. And
there it is right there.
Yeah, and then I was like, I bet I can. And I was like, well, I did that. I bet I could do a 50 miler. Like I saw someone saying like, oh, there's a 50-mile race. I didn't even know you could run 50 miles. And like, then I did that. And then like, it's kind of like all these things is like, if you're open and you're willing to accept what people are saying, and it's almost like just being receptive to what's out there, because there's so much stuff out there and so many cool things that you can get into, that the opportunities will present themselves. You just have to be willing to step forward and kind of grasp them when they present themselves. And maybe it's not the way someone intended it, but you can use that for your own purpose and kind of redirect it where you want it to be.
You're so speaking our language here.
Yeah, but so now I gotta find someone that's willing to jump tandem with me, because I don't have enough hours to do it by myself. But like, I'm sure there's another flying Elvis, and how cool would that be? Like 2 dudes jump out as Elvis, and then one guy tries to set the world record. But
I love it. You just keep peeling the onion, like, to get into it, like, deeper and deeper and deeper. And one thing that you haven't said, but you've touched upon it so many times, is this, and I think it's a big piece of putting inspiration to action, is this willingness to walk into the unknown. Like, I don't know where I'm going to get this money to fund these 7 marathons, and it's been 3 years in the making. So it's like patience.
Yes.
Patience. That, this tour that we're on, this has probably been almost 10 years in the making, right? Of us being like, step 1, let's stop acquiring things. Step 2, let's pay off our debt. And so you got to be patient with these inspirations, because just because we have them doesn't mean they're for tomorrow. They could be for 10 years or 3 years or 10 years, but it's about keeping the momentum going, keep believing in that inspiration, put a visualization to it, and understand that, like, when it's time to take the next step, you'll know.
Right.
And that beyond that next step is unknown. Right? And so if you're supposed to run these, you're going to get that funding. And if you got it from one group, why can't you get it for the other ones? Of course you can.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's exactly how I feel. And then, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But if you don't try, you'll never know. And I think that's what so many people get stumbled by, right? Because there's so many people and well-intentioned people looking out for you. Like, I don't know if you remember the first time you did your first long Ironman or something there. I know my mom was like, "Don't die,"
Totally.
Extremes,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. Like, people die. Like, they were so scared, but now they're like my biggest fans. Like, and I think that they get so much joy out of seeing me do these things.
Of course.
And it's part of like, they know more about crewing for me. They've seen me like puking. Like, my dad is actually covered for me. Like, when the race director has said, like, if I see him throwing up one more time, like, I'm gonna pull him from the race, and my dad would like misdirect the guy, like, because they know how passionate I am about it and how much like it would kill me not to be able to do it. I think that there are a lot of reasons why you can't do something, but I love the fact that there are people out there showing you that it's possible. Like, if you can dream it, and I know it's cliche, but like, it's possible. Like, you guys have worked. If you dedicate yourself to something, you can make it happen. And it seems like I just read a book where it's talking about GE uses these stretch goals and like SMART things. It's basically like, make a kind of audacious goal, but then figure out how to get there, right? And it's really powerful, because like, what you guys wanted to do is like take this tour, right? So like, okay, that's awesome. So now how are we going to get there? We're going to stop acquiring stuff. We're going to pay off our debt. We're going to make sure our car works. We're going to pare down to one cycling kit. I can do my training on my racing bike because, okay, it's more comfortable to probably do it on my road bike, but whatever. Like, I'll be that much more prepared than the other guy that only goes 1 day a week on his time trial bike. These are things like, if you want to do it, it's possible. You just have to make the sacrifices to do it. And I tend to find is like, you think of it as a sacrifice, but when you're actually there on the precipice and you're living it, you're like, why did I need all that? Like, beforehand, like, yeah, it's awesome if I have 4 bikes or whatever, but really I only need 1 bike or 1 pair of shoes or 1 pair of shorts, really.
And the thing is like, we're living in America, so if my running sneakers, die off, I can get a new pair of running sneakers. Like, it's okay. I mean, it's not to say that when we finally settle that I won't have more than one pair of running shorts. You know, like I'm literally running in them and then washing them in the shower and then hanging them on the bike rack to dry.
But they're made of really nice fabric that dries super quick.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Lululemon, yeah. But I feel like I was accumulating things because of the what if. Like, what if I need an extra spare tire? Or what if I need the extra bike because this bike has to go to the shop? Like, you find a way, and it's just like what you're talking about. Like, you just find a way. Right. Like, there's so many roadblocks, and people stop at those roadblocks, but if they just find a way to go around it or over or even through it, like, it can happen. Right?
It will happen.
It will happen.
Yeah. And I mean, I think I find that in my travels is like I did a trip earlier this year to Cuba, and I brought down 2 duffel bags with a group called One World Running and Competitor Magazine, and we did like a cover shoot and we hiked these mountains. But the coolest thing we did was we brought shoes to these people, and you were saying like, I can get new shoes, like if my shoes wear out or whatever. But people in Cuba, like, even if you wanted to buy new shoes and you had the money, which most people don't, there's no Nike store, there's no Hoka One store, there's no Saucony, you can't buy shoes. I mean, so they're not there. So it's just like the amount of resources we have in the US is just beyond crazy. Like if you just walk into any grocery store, like my wife was just headed to Whole Foods, like that doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. Like there's something to be said for the luxury that is the United States. And I know when I travel, like, and it's not just the plethora of stuff, it's like the convenience too. Like we were just in Europe, like we were saying earlier, and like if it's 6:30 and you want to go to the grocery store, like you're not. I got back from the race at midnight and I was like, it'd be nice to eat now. And they're like, yeah, breakfast is in the morning. Like, good luck. But if I was in New York City and I walked into the hotel, they'd be like, we'll send up some food right away, or I could just walk to the store. So, I mean, I think that's something to be said. I love the fact that we have so many resources here in the U.S., but there's something to be said for traveling so that you appreciate what you have.
Oh, totally. And I think so much of my drive to live a more simple life has come from traveling to different countries. And I haven't traveled a ton, but in 2009, I went to India and I spent some time there.
Nice.
With Tibetan refugees.
Okay.
I was teaching massage. And I remember I was invited over to one of my students' houses, which was, smaller than this porch.
Right.
And it was her and her husband and her 2 kids. And they were telling us their stories of how they, escaped Tibet and, as children and walked in the Himalayas at night, like not in really hiking boots, but like slippers if you were lucky. Yeah. And that trip changed me so much because I just saw I saw the true sense of what living in contentment and happiness and connection and joy was really about. And we do have so much available here in the United States, and I'm so, so grateful for living here and for all of that. But I think that it's even more important for us to really check in with what we have, and do we need it all? And are we hoarding like a linen closet full of sheets when you really only have one pair of sheets on your bed at any given time, right? Can you maybe like donate a pair of those sheets? And if you look at all that stuff as like kind of additional weight in your life, it's freeing to do that. And it's also, I think, our nature to care and connect with others and, give that what we don't have. And there's like this fear, like BJ was saying, like, well, what if I need it? And what if? And there were so many what ifs in the 25th hour when we were like, oh my God, we have to get rid of all these what ifs.
By the morning.
And guess what? So many of them went in a trash can. And like, we hoard this stuff because what if we need it? In the end, we ended up just throwing it away, and which really disgusted me because I was like, now what? Now all that's going to sit in the earth, right? So I think we live in the country of plenty, and I'm so grateful for that, like I said. But to start looking at like, what is it do we really need, and are we like hoarding things that we don't need, or we're not even using that other people could benefit from?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I have 2 boxes full of shoes that I'm sending to my friends at One World Running, and I've collected from like my sister and a buddy, and like just my shoes. Like, and what's so crazy is like I'm gonna put a bunch of race t-shirts, because every time you go to a race, you get a shirt, right? Like,
you're getting 50 shirts a year.
Yeah, exactly. And like I try to just say like I don't really need it.
Who needs 50 shirts?
Yeah, exactly. Like I have stuff just, and so like I started like, oh, I'm only gonna keep shirts from races I win, but like I do well sometimes, so like I still have like a bunch of shirts, and like it's one of those things where the amount of just material that we accumulate just being where we are like is unseemly, really. But like it's also something like I think you touched on, is like there are ways that we can reallocate those resources to other people that can use them, and so that's something that I think I'm trying to do, and I think that hopefully others kind of try to do. I mean, it's really powerful. Like we took down, my wife Jennifer went to Staples, and she spent $100 on school supplies when we went to Cuba, and I brought them in my bag along with the shoes, and we outfitted the entire region of Guantanamo. All their schools came to this field day, and the prizes were pencils and notebooks and pencil sharpeners, and you would think I was handing out Xboxes. The amount of excitement for like a pencil and an eraser, and then my friend Brian brought down some like Matchbox cars, was like handing out iPads to people like in the US, and it was so incredible, and like also like tear jerking. Like I have a closet that my kids have of just markers and stuff that like they don't even know is there, and it's not their fault. They just like, that's just their reality. But like these kids would, give their left eye tooth for like this kind of stuff, and it's just those things like that. And I think that we're going to try to take a trip there just so they can see that, because I think that it'll show them just a different side of the world, and hopefully kind of change their scope of perception a little bit. And I don't know, I think that's one of the things that people get that opportunity at some point.
Yeah, I think just exposing them to that is just priceless, to be able to expose them. And the fact that you get to do this, and and then in that, help out the local communities is so much, because when you think about them bringing, you're going into their community, and then you're using the land around them to do what you love, and then you can create joy in their lives by bringing them things, that they don't have access to.
Right.
So I want to jump into something else. You had mentioned a few minutes ago that sometimes you do well at races, and you've got a few world records, to say the least. And so some of them are, well, at least one of them I think is kind of funny. But can you give us the rundown?
Yeah, well, some of them have been broken, but I did have the world record for the fastest marathon on a treadmill. So I ran like 2 hours and 23 minutes, and then my buddy broke it. He ran like 2:21. No, it's cool. It's fine. I have the 50K world record for a treadmill. I did it first time on a Spartan cruise, so like with the guys from Spartan Racing. I don't know if you guys have done any of those yet.
We haven't, but we're familiar.
They look too dangerous.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
that's an obstacle.
Yeah, we go straight. Yeah, we go straight.
Yeah, so no, you got to be able to throw a spear, and like
you got to be able to like move laterally.
You actually have to like have some upper body strength. Like I understood my role was to lose, and I promptly did, but I set a world record on the cruise ship, which was really cool. And then my sponsor Hoka One thought that was really cool, so then I set a world record at their sales meeting in front of all the people to open up the sales meeting, which was just one of the coolest experiences I've ever had. I've set a world record with you met my son Pierce, as pushing him in a jog stroller when he was a little tyke, maybe almost 10 years, probably like 8.5, 9 years ago. And then I did the same thing with Grant, but we lost to another guy. But we finished first and second overall in the marathon, which was pretty funny. So the Route 66 marathon in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Nice.
Yeah, if you get a chance, it's a cool little area. So
yeah, I think Tulsa is on the list.
Tulsa's on the list.
Yeah, you should totally check that area out. It's really cool. And then I've set a world record dressed up as Spider-Man, which was really cool. And then my buddy just broke that at the London Marathon.
As Spider-Man?
As Spider-Man, but then he cut out the eye mask, like the eye holes, and also a big mouth. So, Paul, I think your record's kind of suspect.
Oh my God, did you have like your eyes covered in your mouth?
Yeah, my eyes and mouth covered. So like as the sun hits it, you get like the kaleidoscope effect.
Spidey eyes.
Yeah, and then it's like drinking water. You're like waterboarding yourself. Like it's all like soppy and just really tough. And then this November, I think I mentioned, but I'm going to try to set the world record. That I'm going to try to steal it from my friend Ian Sharman, but he has the world record as Elvis. So I'm going to try to break that at the Las Vegas Marathon. And like this, my friend Bob Babbitt has like this custom suit made up. So like he's got sequins on it and all this stuff. And he said he's going to get me one. So I've given my measurements to, I think it's Megan. She might be making that for me as we speak. So I got to check in on that, but I think it'll be pretty rad. And if I can add the world record as Elvis, that'll be a nice addition to the list. I'm trying to think if I got any others. I think that's about it. I have the world record for a 50K on a 200-meter track also.
Wow. So
yeah,
right away. So that stuff, I love that stuff. Because it just that mental like focus, right?
Yeah.
Basically, like it's not like you're zoning out. You're probably in there. Like to run on a treadmill for an hour is super challenging for people.
Yeah.
But yet you're running 2.5 hours.
2 hours, almost 3 hours for the world record, the 50K world record.
Okay.
And then, I have someone in contacted me to try to do 24 hours on a treadmill, which I haven't done yet, but it's kind of exciting to me.
Right?
Yeah. So I'm not sure if that's going to happen this year, but I need to check back with my buddy Rich Hanna, who is talking about doing it for a Thanksgiving Day run. But Thanksgiving's one of my favorite holidays, and usually Rosie and I are the defending dog people champions in our local turkey trot here in Alexandria. So I would have to seriously consider like jeopardizing our 2-year record. Yeah, she's really fast, and we've been training hard. So.
Yeah, she looks super sleek.
She does.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have to consult with her on that.
Yeah, I know.
You can't just.
She gets extra bones.
Yeah, and
she actually did a 8.8 mile run today. It was her longest one yet.
Wow.
So yeah, speaking of family members and stuff, I mean, you're doing all these races. You've got 2 kids. You're married. You have a beautiful home here, and you have a full-time job.
Yes.
What is your full-time job?
Yeah, it was. I work as an international shipbroker at a company called Potomac Maritime LLC, based out in DuPont Circle, and we work with U.S. and foreign flag ocean-going carriers, primarily carrying food aid cargo, humanitarian cargo to countries in need, so like Somalia, Syria, Central, South America, West Africa, East Africa, Red Sea. Places in the Far East, like Pakistan. Yeah, so I was explaining this to some people earlier today, but did you guys ever see that movie Captain Phillips with Tom Hanks?
We haven't.
Mm-mm.
But it was about the Somali pirates, and so that was one of our vessels, was the Maersk Alabama, that was hijacked. So I got to deal with piracy, which is something that you shouldn't have to deal with in this time and age. So yeah, it's one of those really interesting fields where I was lucky to get involved in it, and it's been, next year will be my 20th year. So this is probably 22 years, because I did 2 summers as an intern, but like if you add it all together, so I've been in the same business for quite a long time. So even before I was moving up as a runner, like I started off as a recreational runner, and so it's been cool to kind of progress as a runner and then also in my career as a broker.
And so how do you balance all that with your training and your family? Like what does like your typical training look like in a week?
Yeah, so I do anywhere between like 80 and probably 110 miles of running a week. And then I also cycle probably 40 to 50 miles a week. And usually I wake up and get a run in, and then I bike to work, and then I work until 11 or 11:15, and then I go for another run, and then I work until 5 o'clock, and then I bike or run home. And once I'm home, I'm just kind of a dad and try to help out Jennifer with the Pearson grant. And then I do that Monday through Friday, and then I'm either racing or running on the weekend.
Basically racing every weekend, pretty much.
Yeah,
for the
pretty
most
much.
part.
Yeah.
So it's part of your training, right? So most people, myself included, will train for 6 months, 7 months, and then race.
Right.
And I maybe get in. I haven't gotten in a race yet this year. So hopefully in the next few weeks. So
You did the mini try.
I did do
You
the
did the
mini
mini
try.
try.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Which has been running for 33 years.
Yeah. So
Okay, cool.
You never knew about it.
Yeah, you've been pretty hot on the race scene
Yeah.
Yeah.
for about an hour.
So it's part of your training, and that's not what most people do. Like they will train long periods of time and then race. So
Right.
racing is part of your everyday weekly routine. So do you save your speed and hard efforts for that weekend race, or are you doing some stuff during the week a little bit?
Yeah, so when I'm in peak training, I'm usually doing some type of track workout on a Tuesday. So usually Tuesday morning, anywhere up to like 10K of track work. And then usually I'll try to do a tempo run on Thursday. Today, I actually, because I'm just coming off the 100-mile race, and I haven't done much running this week, just kind of more hiking and jogging. So I did a tempo run today with Rosie. It was her first tempo ever. She was
Was she
quite
picking
good.
it up?
Yeah, she was. Yeah. So it was more like a fart, like
Yeah.
1 minute on, 2 minutes off type thing. Yeah, usually I still try to maintain some good quality runs, and then just not taper into the races unless it's like a big race like Mont Blanc. I just ran really easy, like I think maybe 10K travel day, so like 3 or 4 miles, and then just running around for photo shoots and stuff like that. So maybe like 4 or 5 miles before doing 105. But like if it's a marathon, usually I'll slow down a little bit on Friday, take it easier, like 30-40 minute run on Saturday, and then race on Sunday, or depending on which day the race is.
That's a nice taper.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you also have come to read that you sort of detach from the data a little bit. Like you use the data when you need to.
Yep.
But really you can just go out and run
Yep.
without any electronics and sort of feel your way. And I feel we come across that a lot. It's sort of my passion is to move away from, the heart rate or the pace that you're at, because you're going hard. Like I know when I'm going hard, I don't need a watch to tell me to go harder. And I learned that from Tim Wagner or Tim
Lucho on
Lucho.
Endurance Planet?
Yes.
Yeah, they're good. Yeah.
he used to be my
and-
coach.
yeah,
and Tony,
okay,
Yeah, we know Tony. Hey, Tony.
we used to
Yeah,
live in Boulder
hey.
for a while.
Okay,
So-
yeah. We
so
did
hooked
a
up with
talk
him.
together.
Oh yeah.
That's
Yep.
yeah.
But he got me to. He would actually. There was one time where
Tell
he.
that story about the track.
Yeah, what was
Oh,
it?
the track.
When he had you take your watch. I love that
Oh,
story.
yeah,
That
so-
was like really transformative for you.
It was. He. I went on a tempo run with him. A 2-mile warm up, and then it was like a 10-mile, race pace run, and he was riding alongside me, and he took my watch away from me because I was tied to this Garmin, and we would just check in every now and then. He'd be like, "How fast you going? How fast do you think you're going?" And he would never tell me how fast I was going. I would just keep telling him, "I think I'm going like 7-minute miles." And so we got out to the turnaround, and we came back, and he's like, "Okay, you got 1 more mile. How fast do you think you're going?" I'm like, probably like 8-minute pace. And we got back and finished, and he said, "You're 8 miles. We're 6:30-minute pace." And I was like, "No way." He's like, "Yeah." So it just totally proved to me, like, you disconnect from the pressure of looking at that watch and just let yourself run.
Yeah.
And I was working hard, but it was such an appreciation for the run. Like I was there in the moment,
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
feeling it and doubting myself about mile 8, but coming back. And it was just, I think that's such a good experience for runners, like just to leave the watch at home and
Yeah.
just run, get back to like running and feeling how it feels.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it's so funny, right? Because like I love that, but then there's also other times like I run with I don't love the strap, so I run with Mio, so I just have like a heart rate monitor on my wrist. And what's so cool is like you'll be like, oh, I must be like really high, and then you look at it and you're like, oh, I'm like 129, like that's, or like, oh, like this, I feel like I'm running really slow, and you'd be like, before the race, I always love looking at it, and it's like 44, and like, you know, everybody around you is like 90, like super stressed out. It's like such a like just nice thing to just like, I don't really geek about it, but I love the fact that it's there, like, so you can kind of fall back on it. But yeah, there are other times where I'll just go out and just run and just not even turn it on and just kind of feel my way through the run. And I think that's what's cool is like, if you want it, it's there. If you don't want it, you don't have to use it. But I think your story is powerful. Like, that's really cool because like you were limiting yourself based on what you thought you should be able to accomplish rather than what your body would allow you to accomplish. And I think that that's something that Lucha was trying to teach you, is like, don't limit yourself unless your body makes you. Like, and that's really powerful. And that's something that I want to try to do in my training. And like, I think that trying to do like these things that are big and audacious is like the same thing as like, if you looked at it, like if you looked at like, oh, I'm going to go and run 100 miles, and you think of it as 100 miles rather than I just have to get to the next aid station, or I just got to get till I see my family. If you start thinking you're 20 miles in, I still got 85 miles to go, like all of a sudden that's a bad place to be. But if you think, oh, I only have to go 5K and I'm at the next aid station, I'm going to get some food, that's a better way to look at it. And it's almost like what you were saying is like, you look down and you're like, oh shit, I'm at 8-minute pace. But if you saw you were at 6:30 pace, you'd be like, oh, I got to slow down. I'm never going to be able to hold it.
Yep.
I think that comes with experience, but also like, that's one of those things where you learn, and I'm sure that you'll probably like do runs more often now without your watch. Just go out. And I actually have a really cool workout. I'm a coach also, so like I have this really cool workout that I like to do. And so it's an out and back, and so I say, you know, okay, run steady pace, half an hour out, and then you got to come back in like 25 minutes though. So like that is a total mind game, because like you've already been on the course and you know how long it took you to get out, and you know how hard you went. So you can't sandbag it. If you sandbag it, it's easy. But if you run a honest pace on the way out, like to come back 5 minutes faster, that's a legit, for me, that's like a staple workout, and one that I really love. And it really teaches you, because you know, like, oh crap, like I'm more than 5 minutes from the end of this, so I really need to pick it up. And like, as you're going, you're getting closer, but you've already seen the course, so like, it's a really challenging workout, and it really teaches you like, okay, you got to appreciate the pace, and like know that, like, I think a lot of us, like the difference, like when you look at it on paper, like you tell somebody that doesn't know, like the difference between running 7-minute pace and 6:30 pace, like most people would be like, oh, that's not a big deal. But like, if you're actually running 7-minute pace as opposed to 6:30 pace, or like even when I'm on race pace and I'm going from like 5:15 to 5:13, that's the difference between finishing and not finishing sometimes, maybe, is like, and like just knowing that when you're in a race, like if I just slow down like 2 seconds, like that's going to cost me, each second's costing me 30 seconds at the end of the race. So like, and that can be the difference between like stepping over the edge and putting yourself in jeopardy of not performing as well as you want. And just, so like I've been in groups where like I'll just go off, you know, it's easier if you run in a pack or cycle in a pack or whatever, but I'll step back and just be like, I'm staying here because this is where I know that I can maintain. Whereas if I go 2 seconds faster, I'm going to blow up at mile 22 and be like, why did I do that? So. And
I think it's so important to feel that acute change in your pace.
Yeah.
Like, it probably would be easier if you said, go out 30 minutes and then come back in 15 minutes. Because then you just have, okay, now I just have to run twice as fast. But it's like in the pool, like, BJ will have us do sets where it's like, okay, do 100 at whatever, 135 pace, and then 100 at like 130 pace. So it's only taking off 5 seconds,
right.
But it's starting to feel, and I think this is the whole thing of like really understanding the feel of what that pace feels like, because it's different.
Yeah.
And that, you know, if you, in getting that race pace feel of like, okay, this is what I can sustain. This is like riding the edge. It's not too fast or I'm going to blow up. It's not too slow where I'm going to really lose everything on it.
Right.
But feeling like, just like I said, that acute change in pace and getting it dialed in like that, I also think that going into a race brings you so much more mental strength.
Oh yeah.
Because you just know, like, and how, like,
I own this. Like, I can run this. Like, this is my, like, I'll tell clients and like, I'll tell myself this is my all day pace. Like, I can run this until the cows come home, the sun goes down, the sun comes up. Like, I own this pace. Like, I might not own like faster than this, and I definitely can go slower than this, but like, I can do this for a really long time. And that's what you're saying is like, and you know that like your body is conditioned to do that, right? And like, that's really powerful when you have that in your head.
It's like literally having like a dial, and you're kind of like dialing like in that focus so that you can clearly see, you know, like it's just a tiny little switch of the dial, but you can feel it.
Yes.
And you know, okay, this is it. This is where I plug in and I sit right here.
Right. And that's where the patience comes in too, because it's so easy to be like, those guys are going a little faster, or 10 miles later when everyone's like blowing up like popcorn and coming back, and you're like, you've only been 50 meters behind them, but you see them just like start to fatigue and start to rig, and you're still running that comfortable pace. Like, that's powerful. Like, obviously if they don't start coming back, then maybe you got to do something different, but usually it pays off in the end.
And I think that comes with experience, and I've learned that with Ironman. Like, everybody passes me on the bike. I'm just not a very strong cyclist.
I know that feeling, man. Yeah, don't feel bad.
But I don't put a lot of effort into the swim, but I can kind of swim pretty good. I mean, it's all relative, but so many people, I can swim faster than them. So I get passed by everybody on the bike. But I know that on the run, I pass so many people on the run of an Ironman, which blows me away because I'm not that fast all over.
All right.
And I think it comes with experience. So I know now that when I'm in that race and hundreds of people are passing me, I'm just like, it's all right. Like, it's all right. I mean, you know, you just don't get too, like, your feathers don't get too ruffled. But for the new person, like, and for your athletes, maybe they're doing their first Ironman, or they're doing their first ultra or a marathon, and at the beginning where you feel so good because you should, because you've trained for it and you're ready,
right, finally.
And what do you say to them about letting people go? Like, how do you, because it's the ego, like the ego will sometimes take over. So what advice do you give your athletes in that respect?
Well, I think I try to take this into myself also. I mean, like at Ultra Trail de Mont Blanc, I let hundreds of people pass me. I actually usually try to be more interested in, a lot of the top ladies actually pace themselves much better. They have less of an ego, and they're just smarter. So I just hung out with the top ladies actually for a lot of the race. Because they're less, I don't know, driven by testosterone, I think.
Yeah, I know, it's absolutely 100% true. Yeah.
But like, so as far as like the athletes though, like I tell them, and I think it's cliche, right, to say to run your own race, and until you're actually in the race, and then everyone kind of like forgets that. But like, my buddy Jason Slarb has a funny saying. He's like, don't be a first half hero. Like, and I think that was really clever. It's like, no one cares where you are in the first guy to the halfway point, unless there's a preem or something, and that's what you're after, and not trying to do your best in the actual race. Like, it doesn't matter where you are in the middle. It's where you end up at the end. And especially in these longer distance events, like in an ultra, it's like taking care of yourself, putting yourself in the best possible position to be able to close well and to run strong the whole time. And usually for me, what I do is I just try to keep my heart rate under 150 beats. And if I do that, I know that I'm going to be strong later in the race. And so that's where like having a device or something like that is really powerful. So that like, and knowing where that range is for you, like it may be higher for some people or lower, but so like if there's a group of us and I get above 150 beats, I just slow down and I don't care. And then I think that comes with experience, just like you said on the bike. It's like, I know I'll see you later, so good luck. Yeah, get as far ahead as you can because I'm coming.
Right, because a lot of you are going to be walking the marathon.
Exactly.
Like, I can't believe I always say this to BJ. I'm like, BJ, the guys that you're racing with, like, they're all running the marathon. And I'm one of the few that are actually running the marathon, because that's so important to me, is to run that marathon. And I'm always blown away at the super fit people that I see out there walking.
Yeah.
And it's like, you
I don't know how they got there. Like, how did they get to that point?
What do you always say about the biking and the running? Like, but you bike for what?
Bike for show, run for dough.
Yeah.
I have so many
That's
friends
a great
who are
saying,
all
yeah.
about the bike. And if you're a triathlete, you're a triathlete. You're not a cyclist, right?
Yeah.
So don't you want to do well in the triathlon?
It's all about the
Yeah.
run. It's all about the run.
So
for sure.
I'm really focused on like building throughout the day, like swim, bike, and get to that run. And that's what
And be able to run on the run.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Run
you're
to your potential.
And your
Yeah.
strongest being that last 10K.
Right.
Just like finish that strong.
Well, and that comes earlier too. I mean, that's like making sure that you're fueling on the bike and that kind of stuff. Because if you're pushing that hard, it's hard to keep the bike is easier than when you're pushing really hard in a run to keep down nutrition. But that's an opportunity where you can kind of get in some nutrition. You can get in some fluids. You can pee, you can do all the stuff and still keep moving, and that's an opportunity where you set yourself up for success later in the event, like where you are pushing and maybe it's harder to eat. Like you can actually get some probably solid foods and stuff on the bike, whereas when you're trying to chomp down a sandwich or Snickers bar on the run, it's not as nice. I mean, that's where I'd be hammering like Vitargo, like getting in calories and because you're going to need them later. And
it's we've touched upon this a couple times already, but it's the patience.
Yeah.
It's like learning patience. Like if you want to do endurance sports, and ultras and long stuff, you got to have patience. If you don't have patience, then, sign up for some 5Ks and sprints because that's really where you belong and that would be a great place for you.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about your nutrition because I'm intrigued about the Vitargo. And actually, I listened to that podcast that you did with Tawny, and I remember looking it up after I heard about that. And that must have been a couple years ago.
A year and a half ago.
Yeah. So tell us about that because it's not one that we see a lot out there.
Yeah. For me, it works really great, and they've come up with some new flavors, and I'm super excited. They have this H2O melon, and watermelon's like one of my favorite go-to, because it's just basically water and sugar and it goes down super smooth, especially if it's cold. Like I can eat that no matter what.
Oh,
it never turns
my language.
Yeah, it never turns into like, I don't know if you guys after like 10 hours, like almost everything starts to look like razor blades. Like they give it to you and you're like, no, anything but that. But yeah, so I've been able to have good success with it, but it's a long chain carbohydrate that you mix with water. And it's super absorbent. So it's, I think 2 times more absorbent than most things. And it's, like 300 calories per 20 ounces or something. So you get in quite a bit of nutrition and it's really easy release into the bloodstream. So for me, it works really well, especially if I pair that with real food or like in a longer, like usually I use that and then soda, which is a really easy way to get calories and sugar and caffeine, and then gels. But that's kind of been the building block of what I've eaten. And then real food, like I love bananas, I love watermelon if I can get it, I love berries. Usually you can't find berries on most aid stations, but usually they have bananas. Like I think one of the funniest things, we stayed at some hotels and they were like hand out bananas before the Boston Marathon, and they're like, I think King Kong descended on the city because like so many people like just walk away with like so many bananas, but like it's such a powerful fruit. I mean, you got potassium, you got sugars, you got just a natural easy like carrier for it. Like it's, I don't know, it's one of my favorite things. So like the Vitargo, it works super easy, and I just keep it in like Ziploc bags. Like they have it in sachets, but you can buy it in bulk, so it's a little bit cheaper. And then I just put it in like scoops in a Ziploc bag, and then just throw it in my sack. Like I run for Nathan. They're one of my sponsors, and so I have like either a Nathan bottle or a hydration pack, and so I just put it in there and then grab it when I need it. And there's kind of a trick to how you shake it up, but like I found actually if you just throw it in there and you're just running with it in your like a handheld, it just shakes itself into the perfect consistency. So at first I thought that would be a problem, but it's been no problem at all, and it seems to work really well for me. And it's one of those things where you can get quite a bit of calories in an easy format, especially later in the race when you're not really stoked to have to jam down gels or whatever.
So it sounds like you're very high carb when it comes to race, or high.
Yeah, no, I'm high carb in general. Like I did that faster study at the University of Connecticut. So they paired us high carb and low carb. So I was the high carb guy. So yeah, I eat breads and pasta and fruits and
in your normal nutrition,
in my normal
daily
diet, like
diet.
my plant-based nutrition. So I think you guys are also
Heck yeah, we
are. Congrats. Yeah.
We tried.
Are you guys low fat though, or
no?
Yeah, I was like, I don't know. I was gonna say like, I don't know how you do the low or high fat, low carb, and still be vegan or vegetarian.
Like it was funny. We actually tried it for a little while, and we both raced Ironman Syracuse, and we were both like, oh, I couldn't even like.
I didn't have energy, and I gave in. I was like, I'm gonna have cola. I'm gonna have some, and I was like, bang.
Right back. Yeah.
Right back.
And I thought, well, we could stick with it longer. And I was like, you know what? I'm going back to the way I eat. Like, I love fruit. I love pasta. I love, and it works really well for me.
Well,
I
and
feel
salads
good.
and like vegetables,
peppers,
and
I love all that. And so we don't really count calories, fat, carb, whatever. But I would say definitely in the way that we fuel during races, for sure, we use Amrita bars, which are like a date base. So it's
it's kind of like my bearded brothers, like figs and dates.
Really yummy.
Yeah.
And so we were actually connected through Jonathan at
Inside Tracker.
Inside
exactly.
Tracker. And that's something that we recommend to our athletes. And you've used it, right? And
oh my gosh, yeah, man, I use it all the time. It's super cool, and it's like it's random stuff where you're like, I know I'm fit, I know I eat well, but like I didn't know that I had like low sex hormone, or like I didn't know that maybe instead of, like I was saying, like how much I love bananas, like maybe I'm actually getting too much potassium and I should switch to blueberries because that was better for antioxidants. And like there's a lot of like incredible nutritional advice that you get, and just like things that you can tweak that make a big difference. Like it recommended I get more B12 being a vegetarian. Like that's something that I was really concerned about. My iron was another thing, and like my iron was fine, but like it's one of those things where it's nice to get checked and like just get reconfirmation of like, okay, I am doing this right, or like here are some things I actually need to work on. And those little changes, like that's the difference between, like, I don't know if you guys were watching the Olympics before you got on the road, but like the difference between winning and not winning is like those little things that you can make that, it's not a big deal. Instead of eating Raisin Bran, I eat Total that has B12, and like those switches are like, I don't know.
Yeah, I work with this meditation teacher, and sometimes like if I'm thinking about something or whatever, he'll just kind of look at me with this curious face like, well, just remove the doubt, Jess. Like, what is all this back and forth? Like, just remove the doubt. And there's a lot of people who are curious about being plant-based, but they're fearful, right? And I was there too. Like, I was fearful at first, like, am I going to get what I need? Right. But we just recorded, was it a couple episodes ago about how to thrive on a plant-based diet. And we say, like, kind of go with it, but then get the science behind it to back it up. Remove the doubt. Right. And then, like, I love how you use it. You just kind of fine tune, and then you can really, really dial it in to get your best performance.
Well, right. And it's not just like the performance part of it. It's just like being healthy and in your regular life, like the energy that you need to like take out the trash, mow the lawn, like pay the bills, like go to work. Like the performance side is great, but like I feel like for me it works really well as far as like just lifestyle. Like also like I feel like I'm getting everything I need, and like the coolest part about it to me is like it seems like you guys have been vegetarian probably for a while too, it seems like.
Completely vegan for going on 5 years.
Okay. So like I'm not vegan, so like I still eat eggs and I just removed dairy, so like, and honey.
But the primary, like the foundation of your diet sounds like it's plants, like
fruits.
It's
basically it's like I work with a company called Sweet Green. Like I don't know if you guys have been to
We've heard of them, but we haven't been.
Oh my gosh, you guys got to go while you're in town. Like I'll hook you guys up, but it's awesome. Like it's basically like fresh salad, and it's like really incredible, like high quality, and you can choose everything you want, or you can just get from the menu or whatever. But yeah, it's really good. But yeah, I eat a ton of Sweet Green. Like I already had some for lunch, and like, or else I'd take you now. But like it's it's been really cool. But like the thing that I find most exciting about being a vegetarian and plant-based is like all the things like I would never have found. Like I'm like addicted to hummus. Like I would have never eaten hummus if I was just on a traditional Western diet, right? Like it just wouldn't be something that would come across. Like hummus has become more popular now, but like I've been eating hummus for like 15 years now because of being a vegetarian. Like it's a great way to get what you need, like nutrients. Like it's got some fats, it's got protein,
and it's good on everything.
I know, right? But like
it's good on
avocado, like avocado toast is like one of my favorite things in the world.
With do you do it with like nutritional yeast on top?
No, I've never done that.
Totally.
I'm like addicted to Maldon salt. Like, do you know Maldon salt?
No.
Oh, I'll show it to you. It's in the cabinet.
Yeah.
But like I put like that and a little olive oil, and you smash it down.
Oh, you gotta put nutritional yeast on it.
Dude, I gotta try it. Yeah.
We just stayed with Linda.
There's a
avocado toast T-shirt.
our friend has this avocado toast shirt. I was like,
love
that's so
avocado
random.
toast,
I love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, isn't it? Avocados are heaven.
Yeah,
like,
and you guys are
grateful.
headed to like the Mecca, like California. You can get it like 12 for $1.
Oh my God, you can have trees that grow in your backyard.
I know.
Tell me about it.
Oh.
All right, well, we should get wrapping this up.
What's up next for you? So you've got all these records. You run every day. You're putting in a race every weekend. You've got your lifestyle going on. What's exciting for you in the next 6 months? Like, what are you looking forward to?
Oh man, I've got a lot of things I'm actually super excited about. I've got the races coming up, so I've got the Abbott World Marathon Majors to try to finish up and set that world record. That'll be another one. So try to set the record for the fastest time for all the World Marathon Majors: Boston, Tokyo, London, Berlin, Chicago, and New York. The Elvis World Record, trying to get my 10th JFK 50-mile finish, and you get this cheesy sweatshirt, which I'm so excited about. It's like so old school. I've got the 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days. I'm going to be launching an online coaching platform where you can get customized coaching. It's called Squad Run with my buddies out in New Zealand. I just had a meeting with them when we were over in Chamonix. So that's going to be super exciting to kind of give people a low cost, but still like highly professional custom schedule. So that'll be like probably just like $20 a week. So like basically the cost of like going out to like a lunch, and then you'll have personalized coaching, and it can be targeted to a specific. So say you want to do Ironman Louisville or something, like mostly this is like run based at the moment, but eventually hopefully we get branch out into triathlon and some other things. So that's going to be super exciting. I'm hoping to bring a dog race to the area, which I'm kind of excited about. So that'll be another opportunity to run with Rosie. We have the Turkey Trot with Rosie coming up.
Most important event.
Oh yes, of course. Like she's been training hard for that. And then I've got quite a few. I'm trying to plan my schedule for next year. One of our big trips as a family is going to be 3 weeks in New Zealand to visit my friends at the Tarawara 100K down there. So that's been kind of exciting, is getting that planned with the family, trying to figure out like where we're going to go, what kind of, they call it tramping. So it's different hikes, but like, have you guys been to New Zealand or? Yeah. So if you just keep going on your journey,
from California, just keep going.
It's super. It's only like 14 hours or something from there. Yes, but I
like it.
It's so cool. Yeah. So if you get an opportunity, you should totally sneak down there. And so I'm looking forward to that. And then I'm launching also, hopefully coming up, some clothing stuff with a company out in California, Boom Running. So we're going to be doing some t-shirts and that kind of like truckers.
Avocado toast.
Yes, avocado toast, or like be relentless. Like I'm super into honey. So that'll be really fun. And then, kind of expanding into just all different aspects of like moving on with my progression as an athlete. I like hopefully like want to try to do a book coming up soon, so that'll be kind of cool. And then I don't know, like there's always opportunities out there, so I'm kind of keeping my eyes and ears open and figuring out what's next.
So if people want to support you, connect with you, what's the best place for them to go?
So I have I'm on pretty much all the social media platforms. I'm on Instagram at Mike Wardian, Twitter at Mike Wardian, and then I have a Facebook page and also a fan page on Facebook, Michael Wardian, on Snapchat, but I don't use it a ton.
Oh my God, we always have this conversation.
Same ending.
Yeah.
How do you use Snapchat?
I'm on Snapchat, but I don't really.
No, I mean, it's a thing, man, for sure, especially for
I can't figure out how to use it.
Yeah, it's super easy, but like I just like if you don't do it right away, like you have to do it right away. And you have to have internet, and some weasel stole my phone, so I'm like on a beater old iPhone. So I'm trying to get my social media game back in action, but like I'm gonna have to. That's a super cute picture. Rosie's giving kisses. But yeah, so, and I also have a website, michaelwardian.com or mikewardian.com, so you can totally look me up on the interwebs and drop me a line.
Cool. And we'll put links in the show notes to all this stuff. And then I've got one personal question for you.
Yeah, sure.
I am being called to do my first ultra, and it's just a little mini ultra.
Nice.
It's the 50K, right? It's like
very cool.
The respectable entry point, I hope.
Oh, no, yeah, of course.
Any advice?
Yeah, where is it?
Mendocino. So it's like
California, right?
Yeah, Mendocino, 50K.
Oh, that sounds like it'll be beautiful.
It's amazing. Like you run by rivers, by the ocean, through the redwoods. Like it looks amazing. And it's all tied around this place called the Stanford Inn, which is a plant-based inn. And then the race director, this is kind of what sold me, is Sid Garza Hillman, who I love. He's super funny. He did this video on YouTube about like, it's called how to make a frickin' salad, and he talks about like when you're plant-based, like this is not a salad bowl, like this is a salad bowl.
Oh, very
anyway,
cool.
I just
Okay.
love him. He's great. So I said to BJ, I'm like, I think I'm being called to do this. So
you should totally do it.
It's in April.
Next April.
Uh-huh.
Okay, cool. I mean, you have plenty of time to train for it. Like, I think if you do an Ironman, you should be able to knock out a 50K, no problem, because you won't have ridden 112 miles before you have to run the marathon.
And there'll be enough time to warm up.
Yeah.
I need like a good 100 and something to warm up.
Yeah.
So maybe longer distance will be in my future.
Yeah, totally. I think the one couple of things of advice I could give you or suggestions are more suggestions because you probably don't need advice, but make sure you have a good anti-chafe cream.
Okay. That's so
I use this stuff, Squirrel's Nut Butter, that I can give you guys some. It's totally awesome. But yeah, that's something that I didn't think would be a factor, but definitely can be, is like making sure that the parts of you that need to be protected are.
And I'm 44, so things are like touching that didn't touch before.
Well, I'm 42, so I know what you mean. I was talking to some guys about that. But yeah, so totally. And then also maybe getting used to carrying nutrition with you, because sometimes it's going to be further than you're used to. It sounds like it's a trail race, so you're going to be running between aid stations and you're going to have to carry stuff. So like, getting a comfortable pack, especially as a lady. Sometimes it's a little challenging to find stuff that's gonna fit you the way that you want. So just making sure that you're comfortable with your equipment. And then if you're gonna carry handhelds, just get used to carrying 16 ounces or 18 ounces if you're running. A lot of people have going to soft bottles that you just kind of stow, which is what I would kind of suggest. And that seems like it works really well.
Cool.
And then, just I usually wear some kind of cap or something to block the sun and just to like keep stuff out of your face. And then I don't know if you've ever tried it, but a buff is always really nice on a trail run, so you can use it as like a wrap, or you can like wet it if it's really hot. You can pull it up over your mouth if you get caught in a dust storm.
I didn't know. God, dust storm.
Yeah, like there's or like insects or whatever. Like if you're running through, like it sounds like you said you're running through, like if you get like mosquitoes or like black flies or something, you can just kind of pull it up over your mouth. So like,
oh my God,
just getting
sounds good though. I like it.
Totally.
Sounds like an adventure.
I love this talk.
Yeah.
Hearing you wanted to do that.
I know. Well, I don't know. I do a lot. I do everything just on my intuition, and there's something about it that I'm like, I think I'm supposed to do that. So
I think you'll have a great time.
I'm pretty fired up that I just got some advice from you, some guidance. I got a good coach sitting next to me. So I'll let you know.
Yeah, you're all set. I want to see it. Yeah, totally tag me.
It might not be pretty, but
it'll be awesome.
I'll get it done, my friend. Heck yeah.
All right, well, thank you, Michael, for spending time with us today. And,
of course.
Good luck in all your ventures.
Thanks a lot. You guys, too. It's really powerful what you guys are doing and super cool. So I'm looking forward to following your journey.
Yeah, it's a journey. It's an adventure. Awesome.
Cool. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
That was so cool.
Great. I felt like I could have talked to you forever. All right, that was Michael Wardian. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. He's amazing. I can't imagine running a marathon with a Spider-Man costume on. Like, it's hard enough to breathe anyway. And then could you imagine having like the Spidey eyes? And then I think it would be like running a marathon in a hot, sweaty yoga room. That would probably is what it would feel like. But this guy really is limitless, and I'm so glad to know him because he is a constant reminder to just cut the tethers, right? Just cut the tethers and see what's possible, but understand that the only way that can happen is when we're present. It can only happen right now. Change can only happen in the present moment. It's the only place it is. The only time that we can take that first step into the unknown is if we're fully present and engaged in what is happening right now. And that is the premise, the foundation of riding this high vibe of life, right? And do you get it? Like the high vibe, like every floor that you climb, every time you look out that window and you can see more from the view, you're raising up your vibration, you're raising up your consciousness, right? And then fear starts to, it's still going to be present, but it starts to not have such a heavy effect on everything we do or not do. And how does the saying go? When people are on their deathbed, they don't look back and they say, oh, I regret doing all these amazing things. They look back and they see the things that they didn't do. And I don't want to be that person. This life really is epic. And epic comes with challenge. An epic comes with fear. An epic comes with stepping into the unknown. An epic comes with major joy and contentment and flow. So that's the life I want to live. If you guys are into it, tune in again next week for another amazing guest. In the meantime, look for those stairs in the corner and see where that first step is for you. And go ahead and take it because you are completely supported. We are behind you. Every person we have on this show, I promise you, is a cheerleader for you. So live life, no regrets, relentlessly pursue what you love, and ride that high vibration. Oh yeah.